Hello friends, in the series of ENT lectures for CBPAC's virtual classes, I am going to present an extension of the yesterday topic of our previous topic, sorry, and we will continue with the today's topic named as Atlas of the Tympanic Membrane Perforations. So this particular topic, let me slightly expand it in order to have a better visualization. So let me also take a connotation pen. Okay, so this particular topic is going to be endoscopic appreciation of the tympanic membrane perforation and how tympanic membrane perforation looks through the endoscopic picture. So this is a tympanic membrane. You can follow the cursor, and this is lateral process of the malleus. This is lateral process of the malleus. This is handle of the malleus, and this is supposed to be the posterior canal wall. This is anterior canal wall. This is superior, and this is inferior canal wall. You can see two. This is a small size perforation, and this is an irregular large size perforation. But you can also saw bleeding on the margins in the inferior part. So this is a typical presentation in case of a traumatic perforation. So we already have got two types of perforation. Number one are pathological perforation, which are an outcome of a ASOM episode and which progresses to form a chronic discharging cavity, middle ear cavity, which is called as chronic suppurative otitis media or CSOM. So let me take a pen now. So we have got two types of perforations, two type of perforations. We have got two. Number one is pathological perforation, pathological in the senses which are an outcome of a CSOM or rather ASOM, and the other one are traumatic perforation. Traumatic. This is a typical case of a traumatic perforation, and you can see that uh, we are having bleeder on the margin. We are having bleeder on the margin, and we are also having this irregular size perforation. Through the perforation, you can see this is the round window. This prominence is nothing but the promontory, and this is underneath and inferior to the promontory will be posterior, and inferior to the promontory will be the round window niche, on which in which we have got a round window membrane. So if we continue in next is next we will take again I'll remove this, and we'll go downwards to have a to look at the slide next slide. So let me erase all these, and what is again we have got the same picture again. So in this also we have got a mouse I will take. Okay, that's great. Okay, this is again same type of endoscopic appreciation. You can see that there is a small perforation which almost has healed now, and there are still some bleeder patches or settled bleeding patches on the other large perforation. So this is again a traumatic perforation. Traumatic perforation can occur as a result of slap injuries or engagement sports, or even most common is a road traffic accidents. So you can easily see that the two prominent things will be bleeder on the margin and irregular size perforation. So next is again a perforation, but it has healed. The same perforation now it has healed, and you can see this perforation has got a distinct appearance in the healed tympanic membrane as well. So these traumatic perforation in about 90% plus cases will heal without an intervention, and you need not to do anything. Patient have to keep the ear dry without installing any of the ear medication, and he requires almost no medication also. So these traumatic perforation repairs on its own, and the margin to margin covering or margin to margin, you can see resurfacing can or remarginalization can occur in majority of the cases without a intervention. But if the perforation still persists, then a proper surgery is indicated, be a transcanal or a post-auricular approach, or nowadays a very popular is a endoscopic approach, through which you operate through a endoscope. The surgery of the tympanic membrane initially starts with a microscope, and you have a coaxial vision, but with the advent of this endoscopic interventions, you can easily operate the mid layer, even the mastoid region, uh, even the extensive surgery you can do with a endoscopic approach. So endoscopic approach with an endoscope, and a microscope is with a coaxial or a straight light source with a uh, with a augmented or a enhanced or a size increase feature. So this is again a healed tympanic membrane, so we'll not go through it. So this is again a large tympanic membrane perforation, and whole of the tympanic membrane has gone, and there is a serous discharge also. You can easily appreciate there's a serous discharge, and one of the benefit of this large size perforation is you can look at the tympanic membrane and you can have better understanding of the middle ear anatomy. So this you can easily see that this is handle of the malleus. This is long process of the incus. Apart from this presentation, you can also appreciate that the head of the malleus and the short process of the incus lies in the attic segment or underneath this niche of this bone, under the shelf of this bone. If you remove this bone, then only you can see the head of the malleus and the short process of the incus. So you have to understand that the malleus incus stapes are not absolutely available on the tympanic membrane opposite side, but most of the part of the head of the malleus and process of the short process of the incus lies between the scutum and the medial wall, scutum in the medial wall, and through which it communicates with the mastoid air cell system. So if you remove this bone, then you will have a attic, and attic will continue like this to a large cavity, which is less than middle ear cavity, which is called as a mastoid antrum. So this will be the long called the incus, and this will be the incudostapedial joint. Incudostapedial joint. This will be the promontory. You can see this black dot or a black thing is a round window, and this is a nothing but a eustachian orifice, and up on top of that or superior to that will be the canal of tensor tympani. Canal of tensor tympani, these are some prominent blood vessels. So we'll move on to the next segment. This is again a large tympanic membrane perforation, a traumatic perforation, and the chances of re-healing or a healing or a re-healing or resurfacing depends upon various factors. In this kind of a large perforation, the resurfacing is quite difficult because end-to-end approximation is quite difficult, because you need something on which the tympanic membrane can grow, or the tympanic membrane can grow with along the margin to margin if it has got something to floor upon in the senses. If it has got a floor on which the tympanic membrane can grow, then it is easily for the tympanic membrane to reapproximate with precision. So in this case, the chances of resurfacing or regrow or growth of the tympanic membrane is very less. So through the tympanic membrane perforation, you can easily see that this along the side of the incus, this will be the posterior. This is nothing but a stapedius muscle which is emerging out from the pyramid. Pyramid is nothing but a bony prominence in the inferior wall of the tympanic membrane. From the pyramid, from the center of the pyramid, this tendon of the stapedius muscle arises and is inserted onto the neck of the stapes, or at the incudostapedial joint. you can see that the lenticular process of the stapes here, and this will be the promontory down window, and these are some hypotympanic cell, and this large is nothing but this large opening is nothing but the opening of the eustachian tube. So again, we are going through some important tympanic membrane perforation endoscopic pictures. So this is again a very commonly looking picture. Let me take you to this. Okay, this will be a large moderate size perforation, and you can see intratympanic bleeders also. Intratympanic in the sense is when the bleeding happens to be between the wall between the layers of the tympanic membrane. We have got three layers: epithelial layer, we have got mucosal layer, and we have got a fibrous layer. Fibrous layer is the mid layer. Epithelial layer of the tympanic membrane is the continuation from the canal skin, and the mucosal layer is the continuation of the middle layer mucosa, and in between the continuation of the middle layer mucosa and the canal skin we have got a muscle fibers, intermittent or sandwiched layer, or a intermediate layer, or which lies between the epithelial and mucosal layer. So this is a, we can see intratympanic bleeders also, and this the fate of the tympanic membrane healing or resurfacing lies on various factors. If the patient has got an active infection now, then what will happen? These recurrent discharges will push or outroll the margin of the perforated tympanic membrane, and the chances of resurfacing or healing are reduced comprehensively. So recurrent discharges of the tympanic membrane, especially in the phase of healing, makes it's very difficult for the tympanic membrane to resurface completely. So you have to keep the ear dry in order to give it a chance for the resurfacing. So next slide will be, again you have to guess also what kind of a slide. So this is a iatrogenic perforation. So you can look through the literature also. Iatrogenic is nothing but a doctor induced or a physician or surgeon induced. So it can happen when you are doing some ear manipulation, removing of the wax, and suddenly the patient jerks in the senses, moves, then but it's very rare, I can say never happens to me. So but literally speaking, yes, it can happen, but this is a iatrogenic perforation in the inferior part of the tympanic membrane, and again this is superior, inferior, posterior, and anterior. So next is again a example of a large posterior quadrant perforation, and you through the perforation you can see very important structures. This will be the long process of the incus, this will be the stapedius muscle, and this is nothing but the foot the stapes itself. Stapes are got anterior arch and the posterior arch, and we have got a foot plate of the stapes. Again, if you go through the anatomy, the stapes of the foot plate vibrates into the oval window niche, and we have got this ridge. This is anterior and posterior pillar like structures, and between these pillar in the roof part we have got the tympanic membrane, or secondary tympanic membrane. Secondary tympanic membrane closes the round window. So this is the round window, this will be the oval window, this will be the promontory. So this is again a endoscopic appreciation of the tympanic membrane, traumatic tympanic membrane perforation. We'll move on the next slide now. So this is again a perforation, we'll skip it, don't have a clear picture or over here. So this is again a very small size, the tympanic membrane, very small size perforation. A large size perforation has an added advantage in the form of that it doesn't entrap the secretion of the middle ear more, and also it happens to be a portal for ventilation also. So small size perforation always complicates the picture in the middle ear by virtue of withholding the secretion. The amount of the secretion in the tympanic membrane are much higher, and the size of the perforation is quite small. So most of the secretions are not able to exteriorize or come out, is come out, and most of them are entrapped in the middle ear, leading to a chronic foci of inflammation in the middle ear, and hence the middle ear will not settle down for a prolonged time of period for prolonged time. So a small size perforation is always problematic in the sense that that it withholds the secretion in the middle ear, and the middle ear stays active for a for a protected time. Protected is lengthened time or a long time. So this is a neotympanic. What is a neotympanic membrane? The word it is used is neo. Neo is a tympanic membrane which has resurfaced or a regrown or a grown tympanic membrane in which the margin to margin approximation has occurred. But look at this dimeric difference between the tympanic membrane which is normal and the tympanic membrane which has healed. You can easily see that the sheen or the translucency of the resurfaced part of the tympanic membrane which has resurfaced is quite high or more than the normal tympanic membrane. Normal tympanic membrane is rather translucent, but this part of the tympanic membrane which has healed is quite transparent, you can say, because when the tympanic membrane heals, only two layers heals on it. Number one is epithelial layer, and the number two is mucosal layer. The intermittent fibrous layer do not grow. So this is a trimeric, or this normal tympanic membrane has got three layers, whereas the resurfaced or surface tympanic membrane only has got a two layer. So there is a difference between the translucency of these two structures. So this resurfaced tympanic membrane is quite thin also, and the chances of retraction or bulging are quite high in case of a surfaced or a resurfaced tympanic membrane. So if the middle ear undergoes negative changes, then the part of the tympanic membrane which collapses first is nothing but the part which is resurfaced. So this is again a normal, nothing extraordinary. We already talked about it. So next is again a same perforation. You can see that the margins are now growing. All the margins do not grow simultaneously. Some part of the margin of the tympanic membrane grow faster than others, and if it approximate it is approximated to other part, then complete resurfacing can occur. But depending again by the status of the middle ear, especially the ventilation to the eustachian tube and the size of the perforation also. So this is again what is this whitish part? This is nothing but a meringosclerosis. What is meringosclerosis? In case of a long-standing tympanic membrane inflammation, especially in the layers of the tympanic membrane, it goes under hyalinization. It underwent hyalinization, and this white patch of this hyalinization patch is called as meringosclerosis. Meringo, the word meringo is used for tympanic membrane, as sclerosis is word for hyalinization. If this chalky deposition, whitish hyalinization is present in the middle ear, if it is present in the tympanic membrane, then it is called as meringosclerosis. If this whitish chalky deposition happens to be in the middle ear, then it is called as tympanosclerosis. So tympanosclerosis is a hyalinization chalky deposition in the middle ear. Meringosclerosis is a chalky deposition in the tympanic intratympanic or between the layers of the tympanic membrane. So this is not a traumatic perforation. This is an angry looking chronic discharging ear, and you can see the edematous margins. The margins are not so sharp, and there is a rubedolar functionalia also on the margin. So active inflammation is going on. The middle ear mucosa is studied in the sense is edematous, and the patient there is no chance that the patient will heal. So this ear needs to be operated or need to be resurfaced. The principle of any surgery of the middle ear lies on the fact that you have to reventilate the ear. It's not about resurfacing of the tympanic membrane. That is a part or motive of the surgery also, but the primary motive is to establish the ventilation channel from eustachian tube to the mastoid air cells. So if you plan a surgery only to resurface or to give a topping, or you can say for the roofing of the or patching of the tympanic membrane, that is going to fall, and the surgery will inevitably will be a failure. But if you address the mucosal edema and the obliteration and the blockage from ventilation for the ventilation pathway, then certainly the surgery will survive, and the chances of reperforation are remote. So this I will skip also. Mucosal polyp you can see. So you can see sorry, a multiple perforation in this tympanic membrane. So this is again a large perforation. Again, you can see that there is a edematous middle ear mucosa. So the endoscopic picture of the tympanic membrane and middle ear gives you exact sense whether the patient will heal by itself or some kind of anti-inflammatory drugs are required at this active stage. It is better to postpone the surgery in case of a wet ear, but many it's a debatable topic again in ENT fraternity whether to operate the wet ear or not. Wet in the sense is whether when the ear is discharging, active discharging or acute inflammatory sequence is going on, then the ear is wet, and whether to do a surgery or not to do a surgery is a question to every surgeon deals with it. So in majority of our cases, we will wait for the tympanic membrane to stay to settle down, the middle ear to settle down, and then we'll go for a surgery in rather dry ear than in a active ear. So that's it for today. We will again continue with the endoscopic atlas, and we'll deal with more middle ear disorders, or rather cholesteatoma, in the next next lecture. Thank you for listening. Thank you very much.